Hello, this is Randy. Welcome back to Brain Break with Randy and Keitho. I wanted to tell you a little story, a little bit more about my life. When it was the summer between my junior and senior years in high school. I got permission to go see my sister in northern Utah and got in my Volkswagen. It was just me. I drove all the way up there. I don't know, 12, 15-hour drive. When I got there, they weren't there, but my brother-in-law had told me I could ride his motorcycle, which was a very nice motorcycle. I think it was a Honda 350 Elsinore. I knew where the Bridgerland motocross track was from their home in Hiram, Utah. I rode there. I wasn't particularly challenged by the Bridgerland motocross track. So I saw a hill that was on the way back to their house. I didn't check it out. I just went up it. I did not know till later that that was called Dead Man's Hill. I made it clear to the top, but the motorcycle stalled out just before I got over the top. As I was trying to back the bike down, it was heavy. I was tired from riding and driving most of the day. I was all alone. I got my boot caught between a couple of rocks, and I didn't want to let the motorcycle fall and get scratched up, so I held on to it. In fact, I held so tight that I pulled it back. It pushed me down, the weight of it did. I spiraled down, and I got a spiral fracture from below my knee down to my foot. Between my knee and my foot, I didn't have any bone bigger than about an inch. It was pretty bad. So I just sat on the side of that road until a lady came by and she asked if she could help me. I said, well, if there's any way you could go and get some help, because I don't think you're going to be able to help me. The motorcycle's heavy. So I told her where to go. And by that time, my brother-in-law and my sister were there. They, instead of waiting for an ambulance, because they didn't live in Logan, Utah, they lived in Hiram, which was, 20 minutes or so outside of Logan and probably 30 minutes or more from the hospital. They put me in a car and drove me right there. Now, my leg, again, was just like a piece of spaghetti. It wasn't straight at all. He got me to the hospital, took me to the emergency room and put me in a wheelchair. My dad arranged for one of his friends to be the surgeon that repaired me. My dad loved connections. Unfortunately, this man, while he was a surgeon, he at the time was literally Howard Hughes's personal physician for half of the year, would go to Vegas, take care of him. He got paid very well for doing that, but he, as a favor to my father, even tried to talk my father into someone else doing the surgery because he didn't want to do it. He didn't feel qualified, but my father said, I trust you, I know you. Anyway, to make a long story short, he did the best job he could, but he put a screw, and I'm talking 15, 16 inches from my ankle clear up into my bones in my lower leg to get it. So back in the day, they do things totally different now. But back in the day when this happened, when I was a young boy in the mid 70s, what they would do, they would just do the surgery right away. And because you were really swollen right away, the casts were huge. I mean, my cast, when they cut it off, they weighed it, and it weighed 60 pounds. 60 pounds of plaster and cotton. I mean, it was ridiculous. And now, I mean, when my kids have had accidents or my grandkids, they wait a week. If that's what it takes for the swelling to go down, they stabilize the broken bone, and then they have you come in, and then they do the surgery or set the bone, and it heals much faster, by the way. I was in that cast for half a year, 6 months. I was on crutches in a high school that was 2 stories and didn't have an elevator. So I was always let out early. I got to class late because of that. I didn't take advantage of it. I was a senior. I was enjoying school, but I had a broken leg. I met a man who was a kinesiologist, and he was a professor at the University of Arizona on a visiting basis. He suggested I take dance, that he said that will strengthen you. Now, I'm old enough that physical therapy wasn't common, even though it was around. It wasn't something that a doctor would say, let me send you to a physical therapist. We'll get you taken care of. They weren't on every street corner like they are where I live. So I went in and talked to the counselor. The counselor said, well, you're going to have to get permission to get into that class. So I go meet with this PE coach that ran the class. She was just a very nice lady. I explained to her what I was interested in doing. I said, I just want to kind of work out so I can finally, slowly recover my strength. She said, well, you have to take the class. You have to be part of it. What I didn't know is that there weren't enough boys that would take that class. And she wanted boys to be able to help the girls in their dances and lift them and things like that. The girls were delightful. My friends made fun of me because I went from running track to being in dance, but I couldn't run at that point. So I did it. But she used to tell us on almost every class a poem. She said it a little different. But this poem is by Daniel Burnham. And she used to say, make no small plans. But he said, make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood. The way she would say it is, make no small plans, for they have no magic to stir men's souls. But still, same poem. She just had mismemorized it. That's okay. Let me read you the rest of the poem, though. Make no little plans, they have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans, aim high, and hope and work, remembering that a noble logical diagram, once recorded, will never die, but long after we are gone, will be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistency. Remember that our sons and grandsons are going to do things that would stagger us. Let your watchword be order and your beacon beauty. Again, that was by Daniel Burnham. To me, those words are inspiring. And we don't have people believing that they can accomplish whatever they choose to do. In my life, I was in outside sales. I started selling chemicals door to door. I think I've told a story or two about that. And these are specialty chemicals, like cans of specialty cleaners. And one of the products we had was amazing. We sold it to department stores. It was a siliconized glass cleaner. So you would clean the glass, the fingerprints and everything off of the glass, and this stuff would dry to where somebody would go up and touch, say, a mirror in a store, and their fingerprints wouldn't get it messed up because of the silicone that was left. And that was an amazing product. I sold an awful lot of that. I think I told the story about selling the cleaner to the Navy when I got the wrong purchase order from the Navy. But they loved that product. It kept their aircraft carrier and their planes cleaner than ever. Later on, I went to work for a company called Procter & Gamble. I didn't do anything different than I would have ever done, but I was in El Paso, Texas. Other guys that I worked with were in Phoenix and Denver, Albuquerque. Much nicer, bigger communities. Yet I won all the contests for years. I was with them for 4 or 5 years and literally won every contest. For the last 3 years I was there, I was ranked number 1 in the company of 400 sales reps. What it was just planning and working hard and working my plan. I see today when I meet people, they struggle with those concepts. I don't know why. So my guide word to you is make no little plans. Remember that they have no magic to stir men's blood and probably themselves will never be realized. But make big plans. Aim high in hope and work. Remembering that a noble logical diagram once recorded will never die, but long after we are gone will be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistency. Remember that our sons and grandsons are going to do things that would stagger us. Let your watchword be order and your beacon beauty. Thank you. I wish you the very best and hope you have a wonderful day.